4 games, 4 rankings, 1 peed off gamer. How will he rank Sonic's classic adventures?
Here's the rules. I'm going to evaluate each of the game's zones, special stages, and the overall experience. There's 4 tiers, A, B, C, and S. Whichever gets S is a sweaty, demon spawn hellscape of a game. Whichever gets C, well, let's just say I wouldn't not marry it. Starting with the original, Sonic the Hedgehog was a pretty good experience overall, but I definitely wasn't ready for it, and you'll see how in a moment. I did have high expectations going into this game. I definitely expected it to be super fast, super fun, and it delivered on some of those fronts, but not all of them. The game was quite a bit slower than I expected based on all of the marketing. It's a lot more puzzle and platforming based than you'll see in other Sonic games. It has some great zones like Starlight Zone, Marble Zone, and Scrap Brain Zone. You can scrap my brain after that one. And unlike later Sonic games, these zones have up to 3 acts, which kind of allows them to be fully fleshed out before we move on to the next zone. Honestly, nothing really annoys me about these levels. I definitely prefer the more speed-based level design of later titles, but these are alright. It's weird though, because for all this game's marketing, all of the "we're not like Mario" claims, it's a lot like Mario. Subscribe for even more insane takes like this one. I find Sonic 1's special stages to be particularly interesting. They honestly don't have much of a reason to exist other than break up the typical gameplay, because even though you're collecting the Chaos Emeralds, there was no Super Sonic at this point. So what is Sonic really doing with those emeralds? In terms of actual design, these are my least favorite of all of the special stage types that we'll see throughout this video. They're kind of difficult to access with the 50 ring requirement. Most stages I just couldn't access them at all because rarely do I finish a stage with 50 rings. And even making this video, I failed on every stage up until I believe Starlight Zone, which is like halfway through the game. The mazes don't feel very Sonic-like. They require a lot of patience and precision. And like I said earlier about the marketing, in a game supposedly about speed, it doesn't want you to go very fast. I totally get that I'm just not good at this thing, but I'm gonna complain about it anyway, because this is my YouTube channel. And like I said earlier about the Chaos Emeralds, it's neat that they always existed from the start of the Sonic series, but in this game they don't really serve any purpose. You get a screen at the end where Eggman says, "Try again if you don't collect all the emeralds," and you will get like the true ending of the game if you do collect them, but honestly there's no like practical purpose to collecting these emeralds, at least in the first game. This whole thing just pisses me off. Not by that much though, which we'll get into later. I'm gonna give Sonic the Hedgehog a B rank. Well, would you look at that? It's Sonic on the same format I can get a Kidz Bop. Now imagine Kidz Bop singing Crust 40. You're welcome for that thought. Sonic CD is an interesting case as it came out after Sonic 2, but it feels almost like a Sonic 1.5. I mean, I guess it literally is timeline-wise, but still. CD makes some strange choices for a platformer. The gameplay is a lot more exploration-based, with each level having 4 distinct variations of the past, future, and present time periods, accessed via the past and future signs respectively. Isn't that voice line just so satisfying? I'm not typically one for exploration in my games, and I'm still not here, but I like that this extends the game's runtime without feeling too artificial. And they're not just for show either. This game has 2 endings, the good ending and the bad ending. And there's 2 ways to get the good ending. You can either A, collect all of the time stones, or B, you can destroy all of Robotnik's machines located in the bad future of each zone. If you don't do either of those, you get the bad ending. And you kinda suck. I got the bad ending. Now, the Chaos Emeralds are nowhere to be seen in this game, but the Time Stones are here, and they're basically the equivalent of the Emeralds this time around, complete with the same color. And yes, this does mean special stages are back, and while they're better than the ones in Sonic 1, they low-key suck in my opinion. This time we're in an almost 3D environment, kinda like Mario Kart on the SNES. Visually, I kinda like them, but that's also where they get hard. Your goal is to jump on and destroy all 6 UFOs before your time runs out in each stage. The problem is, with these graphics, there is no depth perception whatsoever. The thing about Sonic is, you get better at these. My first playthrough, I only barely got the first time stone, but then I started collecting footage, and I got 2 of them pretty easily, which kinda sucks when you wanna rag on them, but what are you gonna do? Gameplay-wise, there's not much that excites me about CD. The Super Pila is awesome, really makes you feel #extreme, but It's kind of useless. My favorite parts of the gameplay were building up speed after hitting the time travel signs, which is a pretty difficult thing to do in most zones, and it feels super rewarding once you finally figure it out. So how angry am I? I am capital P pissed. Sonic CD is a great game, but these special stages, they are just awful. I'm gonna give Sonic CD an A rank. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Where do we even begin with this one? I think this is where the gameplay for the series finally started to get good. It's much more speed-based and you feel amazing just blasting through the zones like a true blue blur. The zones are fantastic. I mean, we got Not Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, Casino Nights, it's Sonic, now with gambling. Y'all, I love this game.
Especially the music. Not only is every zone a 10 out of 10, but every track is too. It's no T-lopes, but it still elevates the game so much. And just listen to those beautiful samples. I can't talk about this game without praising the people that created Miles, the orange one. It's great to finally have multiplayer, and he's literally the perfect companion for Sonic.
Until he's not. I can only give praise to the standard gameplay of Sonic 2, but the special stages, come on. Whoever came up with this half-pipe idea, they're evil, straight up. I'm pretty good at these stages now, but for first-time players, you'll maybe get the first 2 emeralds without any issue, but after that, it's just a rage fest. If you're playing with Tails, you A, have more rings to collect, and B, have yet another variable that can mess you up. Sonic is controlled normally by the player, and Tails follows behind Sonic with a roughly 1 second delay. It doesn't sound like a long time, but that can really mess you up. You really have to know the layout of these levels, otherwise you'll be losing rings left and right with Tails.
I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. Tails!
You can play this game multiplayer and have Sonic and Tails controlled by different players, which completely negates this issue. But I'm playing single player and this was a really bad issue for me. Thanks to a Reddit post with the maps, I was able to get a few emeralds, but I never got close to getting the final 2. It was just too hard for me. I will say I like the switch to the 50 ring checkpoints instead of the ends of acts. It makes it a lot easier to keep trying if you're bad at the stages. If you play this game for the first time and don't care about the emeralds, you'll probably have a great time. There's no reason you wouldn't. For players that do care though, you're about to go through your greatest trial yet. Worse than hell. Worse than that one boss from Sonic Mania. Okay. I need to cool down. Listen y'all, I love Sonic 2, but it gets the S rank. I'm sorry. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is like if Jesus made a video game. There's quite literally 0 problems with it. I loved every second of this game, from Angel Island, Hydro City, Ice Cap Zone, to starting fresh with the Sonic and Knuckles half of the game. Each game in this lock-on bundle feels like only 75% of a game on its own, but when combined, they're the ultimate package. Each zone is built for pure speed, and every single one of them is a banger. I never mentioned it with the other games, but the story is great here. It's a first for the classic games in my opinion. It's very simple but feels like a grand journey. You start by fighting Knuckles with Eggman to eventually working with him to destroy Eggman in the Doomsday Zone as Super Sonic. Just look at Sonic, he's really moving, he's moving! Speaking of Super Sonic, just how are those special stages this time around? Well, they're just delightful. You don't need to find any checkpoints anymore as there's special rings littered throughout all of the acts, and there's no more 50 ring requirement to boot. Now, Blue Sphere is honestly the least interesting of all the special stage types in my opinion, beating only Sonic 1 in terms of pure spectacle. But being interesting isn't the end all be all. To me, a special stage needs to do 2 things: break the pace of normal gameplay and be a fair challenge for players. And Blue Sphere checks all of these boxes. It's fast, it needs precision, and they're not overly easy to complete. Make fun of me all you want, but this was the first game where I actually unlocked Super Sonic, and it felt great. And then there's Hypersonic, who unfortunately I didn't unlock because getting the Super Emeralds proved just too hard for me, but I'm not mad about it, because you still get to feel like a total badass at the end of the game in the Doomsday Zone. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and give Sonic 3 and Knuckles the C rank. It's just that good. Y'all hear something?
Oh, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. How good you've been to me.
You may now kiss the bride.